Programming on WCS-TV Channel 180 is made possible in part through donations from your McMinnville State Farm agents Lee Holland, Norm Barnes, Neil Helton, and Bill Zeckman.
Programming on WCS-TV is brought to you in part by a donation from Robert Oliver Bratcher of the Stanley & Bratcher Law Firm, located at 100 West Main Street in McMinnville, Tennessee.
At this time, I'd like to call the meeting of the Warren County School Board meeting to order. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. At this time, I'd ask Mr. Zeckman to lead us in the pledge.
All right, please. Face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all.
Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. This time we will have the student advisory.
Keep going.
Hi, I'm Bailey Walker. The football line game is against Siegel at 7 o'clock and it's pink out night. The Warren County High School Anglers have a total of 21 students that are paid members to the Bassmaster High School Division. For choir, Connect will accompany 40 choir members to the Disney Epcot on December 17th. Choir members will be performing at Epcot's candlelight procession. Choir members will be selling Warren County mugs for $10 to help raise funds. If you want to sponsor a choir member, you can talk to Connect. Ms. Brandon with FBLA. November is the month of prematurity awareness. FBLA will spread awareness about premature birth, number one case of babies throughout the month of November. FBLA members will also be collecting donations and large baby bottles in an effort to raise funds for the March of Dimes. Donations are also accepted at the website marchforbabies.org. Remember, Prematurity Awareness Day is November 17th, so wear purple for babies. And then for Celebrate My Drive, Joe Harvey has worked hard on the 37 video. So, I'll present this video.
Before you start that, we might explain that this is State Farm Celebrate My Drive,
Yes.
2N2 Teen Driver Safety Awareness Program. This is the fourth year. In the last 2 years, the 2 years that Warren County High School has been involved, our students at Warren County High School, with a lot of help from the faculty, Patty Smith and others, brought home $25,000 each year in prize money. This year, they've changed the rules. Instead of having 100 schools that can win, 95 of them winning $25,000, the other 5 winning $100,000. This year, they're going to be 22 winning schools. All the winning schools will take home $100,000. So it's very much high stakes. There is no second place this time. Plus 2 of the schools, a command concert by Echo Smith or something. Excuse my cultural ignorance, but something like that. It's I think a teen rock band or something like that. But anyway, $100,000 to be spent according to the needs of the school. And that's determined by the school and the students. I think 20% of it has to be dedicated to teen driver safety. And as a matter of fact, that worked well for us last year because we were able to buy 2 driving simulators. And one of the programs, the driving simulator I learned today, will actually recreate what happens when one is driving under the influence. So it's been a very beneficial program. The ground rules have changed this year from the preceding 2 years when you had the click-in voting on the internet. That could still be a possibility, but to get to that stage, the schools in a student-initiated process have to come up with either a video or a photograph of some way they're promoting teen driver safety. And thanks to Mr. Harvey and Connor Winton and a lot of fine students and faculty at the high school, we have what I hope is going to be a prize-winning entry. So with that said,
is there a CD in there? No.
that's very impressive. To all of you who worked on that, very impressive. So we'll be in competition with several hundred other high schools in this preliminary phase. That's where we present this video. And like I say, I think we're going to be extremely competitive.
What are the dates this year?
This has to be submitted and all the others by the 24th, which is Sunday at midnight. I think Mr. Harvey wants to get this there well before the deadline so the system doesn't crash and we get left out in the cold. Then there'll be about a week when they're going to have a panel of judges to determine which of these videos or photos are in that top 22. And then the top 22, then we'll go into competition with the online voting. No, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Any other information on Supervisor?
Anything else?
Thank you.
But, Mr. Chairman, I don't want to talk too much, but I've got to say thank you to the Warren County High School Choir. You may have known that the Noon Rotary Club was sponsoring the Belmont Jazz Ensemble last Saturday evening at the Park Theater. A lot of preparation went into it. The top-notch, most advanced students from Belmont University, whose School of Music is internationally ranked. They have students coming in from all over the world to study in their programs. We had them set to be at the Park Theater as a free concert to the community, kind of a gift from the Rotary Club to the community. And they were all set. The high school choir was going to do an opening number, about 10 or 15 minutes. And we had a little mishap getting out of Nashville. Needless to say, we were all disappointed. We had the Park Theater more than half full with an audience there to hear the Warren County High School Choir and the Belmont Jazz Ensemble. I got word that Belmont was canceling when I was standing with Mr. Cox out in the parking lot beside the Park Theater. And Canette Dixon had her choir. They were kind of getting ready and shaking up, and we said, Ms. Dixon, you were here for 15 minutes. It looks like you got the whole show. So they did a great job of improvising, very talented students. And I think we discovered some new talent that came forth in that highly improvised concert. But the high school choir did great. So I would urge everybody in Warren County to support the fundraising for the trip to Epcot. So,
definitely, and she wanted to make, if anybody is able to sponsor either part or half for one of the students to be able to go that can't afford to go. I can't remember how much she said it costs for them to go. I want to say about $400 or so. I could be wrong, but if anybody's able to sponsor one of those students, give her a call.
Okay, and they're also selling mugs.
Mhm.
Where do we got the mugs?
They will sell those. She was supposed to give me some to bring tonight, but they'll have them at the football game, or should have. They had them at the last football game, so they'll have them there.
Great.
And
Great.
that's
It's around $675 per student this term. And there's been various fundraisers done throughout the year to prepare for this. You know, if you want to support one, you get with Miss Dixon and she can work that out. But for some, it's difficult, so any help would be good.
Well, it definitely is a big honor coming to Warren County to have our choir at Epcot Center.
Yeah, I think they're going to be performing 3 or 4 times.
4 times over 2 days, 2-3 days.
Yeah. They're excited. Miss Dixon puts in a lot of work with those kids and does a fabulous job.
Fabulous, I agree.
I mean, she walked up there on stage that night without knowing it and ran a show with a lot of talented kids.
She did.
So
Adapt and adjust.
it was impressive. It was very impressive.
It really was.
And I think Mr. Harvey was there also, taking care of the sound and everything.
Right.
It sounded great.
Mm-hmm. All right.
All right, anything else?
That's all.
All right, recognitions.
I think we just have one recognition tonight. Ms. Blair was absent last board meeting, but we wanted to recognize her for her chairmanship of the 14-15 school year. So just wanted to kind of be accustomed to present the outgoing chairman with a plaque. So we appreciate your service and there's your plaque. We appreciate your service this year.
Appreciate Ms. Blair did a really good job last year. Chair.
Among all my blunders.
Did a fine job. All right, operations report.
I think the first item on our operations report is our transportation report. Ms. Lane is here, and I think we're going to get a report on our transportation department, and then maybe go from there with another presentation. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Lane.
Okay. And with the chorus, if somebody would get a hold of me, because I could probably help out with sending somebody there. So give me some information so I know and I can get it all approved. So that's the least I could do probably. We are up one route temporarily, an SA route. So we still have the same amount of routes, so 54, and then added a temporary one for the next couple of weeks. We are still and maintain 100% of our PMs, which is preventive maintenance on all of our buses. It's consistently at 100%. We have really good mechanics doing that. And that is every 6 months, a rotation of buses. They go and get oil change, bumper to bumper, everything, window hatches, door lights, everything from bumper to bumper every 6 months. And then oil changes as needed. Of course, some buses run longer than others, so some need oil changes beforehand. But we definitely have a rotation that we go through. So they stay at 100%, keeping up with that on time. They're actually usually about a week or two in advance, so they're doing really great with that. We have had one accident this year. It was not a bad accident. No one was hurt. Already have the bus fixed. It's back on the road out of Rock Island. But as far as all that, it's going real good. I know things have been going on maybe in Nashville with bus drivers, not having enough bus drivers, even in Coffee County, Franklin County. I have not yet had that problem. I'm still staffed at 110% right now, and I still go higher as I need. So we are one of the lucky ones in this area to not have that problem right now. So that's good, because that just keeps everybody safe. Because when you're rotating like that, or if you have to double routes, that's just unfamiliar territory for drivers. So and there's always a higher risk of accident. So when you have plenty of staffing, it's good. So, and I've been trying to keep up with it in all these other counties. There's Fatality in Franklin County, and so they're kind of yeah, it's and they're way understaffed too. So it does help to be able to have people to go to when you need them. So I want to tell you a new program I got. I know Bobby knows about this. It's called our Durham Bus Tracker. Okay, and this service is so that we can actually communicate with families. And I can, if you want to take one of those and pass it around, this is kind of a question flyer there. This service is provided by Durham for free to school systems, whoever has Durham School Services, also to parents. And basically, it is an app an app that you can track on your computer or on your phone to find out exactly where your bus is or what time it's going to be at that stop. So, which is good for me. So if, say, you have a parent that's maybe running 5-10 minutes late, they're at work and they're saying, you know, what time do I need to be home? Or if they're running home to pick up their child and have to go back to work or have to be at a doctor's appointment, they can actually track exactly where the bus is. Now, it is secure being the way that you have to have the student ID number and their last name. So you can't just look up somebody else's child, somebody else's bus. We've been rolling this out last month and the beginning of this month, so it's going to roll around to us, getting all of our, Zonar systems cleaned up. It's not as intense as I can see as far as speed, because I can do a speed report. I can do when the doors open and close on a bus, their location, things like that. This is just going to show where the bus is associated to their child's bus stop. But I can follow the bus wherever it goes. So this is probably really good for, like I said, parents want to know exactly where their bus is. Sometimes there's accidents on the road, the bus gets stalled, and they can look and say, okay, I have to go back and get a child from a school, and that puts them 5-10 minutes late. When you're waiting and you know that bus is going to be there and it's always there on that time and it's not, they can look on there without being panicked. And say, okay, I know where the bus is, it's on its way. And that does happen, road work, we get stuck behind that, things like that. So they can see exactly where it is. And this is free charge to any school systems that, we service. So it's going to be, I'm really excited about it. We can get all this taken care of. The parents, I think, will really, really like it. So that's what's new for us.
How are you going to distribute that home with the students on the bus? So they'll,
right.
When it's time to roll it out.
Okay. And of course, and I've got a lot more, for rollout time. This is just kind of a question and answer kind of thing of what the high points are of it. So.
If we need to do anything, as far as sending out, putting it on our website, whenever
and
we get to that point, just let me know.
Right. And like I said, I'm doing a lot of things with our VersaTrans system, and the Skyward to get it imported so that, as soon as they put that ID number in there, they can do that. Okay. So I think it's going to be a really good tool. I'm really excited about it. So we're always coming up with something new. But that's all I have. Yeah, I think that's a really good thing. And I know compared to even a lot of other counties that don't even have their Zonar systems on their buses, like we have, this is just another step further to be able to track and of course I can keep track right now, which is good. That's even better. If somebody's off their route or because they're to call me if they defer of anything. So. I pretty much am the eye in the sky now. So, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think I'm real excited about it. So, and like I said, free charge to parents too, so they can have an app on their phone, an app anywhere, and that does help. And working parents and they have to kind of meet the bus when they need to. And special needs buses when they know they have to be there because we have to have a sign off, to get them off the bus, so they know exactly they're there. So. And it's good for people with long driveways too, and apartment buildings when they know they're pulling up there, and they don't have to stand out there when it's cold too. So that does help. And I think now we're going to talk to Matt, and I think maybe you want to kind of explain.
Okay. Thank you. When does this go live?
I will let you know. It'll probably be at least a month or two. So.
Maybe by January 1st.
By January 1st is what I'm going for, but hopefully sooner.
That's fantastic. That's a tremendous service.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we have Mr. Matt Stennett here, who is the Chief Engineer for Middle Tennessee Natural Gas Utility District. And we've had a conversation going with the utility district and with Durham for a couple of years about the possibility of going to CNG, compressed natural gas, as a fuel source for our buses as we replace them in the future. A couple of reasons for doing that. One is that the environmental impact is greatly reduced with CNG. It's a cleaner burning fuel. And so we're putting less carbon pollution out in the environment. And I think as a public school system, it behooves us to take a leadership position in environmental stewardship. This is one way we can do it. As far as the fuel cost, I'll let Mr. Stennett address this, but in the present environment of relatively low natural gas prices due to fracking and other things going on, a better recovery technology, it is extremely price competitive. And because natural gas, most of it is produced here in the United States that we use, we're less reliant on the fluctuations and volatility of imported petroleum. And this is a big help also geostrategically, that we're less vulnerable to maybe the Iranians doing something crazy and closing down the Straits of Hormuz that supplies a big part of the natural gas coming out of the crude oil coming out of the Persian Gulf. So it gives us some insulation from some political uncertainties and volatilities, not to mention the possibility of political blackmail by certain rogue regimes operating in that area of the world. One of the concerns is, and I think we wanted to address this up front and got the general public, particularly the parents, involved in the discussion. We know that natural gas is extremely flammable and can be explosive. So what we want to talk about, and the same thing goes for gasoline, but what we want to talk about fairly early on in this process is safety and the safety record. There are a lot of commercial vehicles and whole commercial fleets operating with compressed natural gas. We saw one of the major waste disposal and handling firms converting a lot of their equipment, heavy equipment, to this. So with that said, the reason we've asked Mr. Stennett to come here this evening, the Environmental Protection Agency has announced a grant program that will help local school districts like Warren County convert to CNG powered vehicles. We're not talking about converting all of them at once, but as we over a period of time phase in year by year new buses, we will be talking about buying buses that are not converted but are actually factory built for CNG, if I understand this correctly. So with that said, we do want to address these economic, environmental, but primarily the safety issues. So okay. Mr. Stennett.
Mr. Zeckman has taken most of my thunder, which is great. I'm going to try and be respectful of your time, so I'll move very quickly through this presentation, but at any time, please don't hesitate to stop me if you have any questions. Just real quick to start, why natural gas? Mr. Zeckman already said it's good for the environment, it's good for the economy, it's good for the country, and it's good for the customer. Just some details on the environment. It cuts carbon dioxide emissions by 25%, carbon monoxide by 75%, NOx emissions by 50%, 95% of the particle matter as compared to diesel isn't there, and VOCs are by 55%. It's good for the economy, as he mentioned. 93% of the natural gas currently is produced in the United States that is used in the United States. So we spend our money at home, we give jobs to people at home. That's huge. It's good for the country, no matter what your politics are, and you mentioned a couple reasons already. Anything we can do to get less and less reliant on foreign oil is a good thing. And finally, it's good for the customer. It's safer, which we're going to talk about. It's easier to maintain, and it's cheaper, which we'll also talk about. Just a little bit about the safety. I didn't want to talk all night about this, but gasoline and diesel, when the tanks rupture and spill, it's a liquid. It just pools around the vehicle. It's highly flammable. It's more volatile than natural gas, and it makes cleanup difficult and dangerous. Natural gas is lighter than air. When it escapes, it just goes to the atmosphere. It's not like when you have a natural gas leak in a house where the gas is contained and can explode. It just goes to atmosphere. Methane is a naturally occurring gas in the atmosphere already. A little bit about the tanks. They are much thicker and heavier duty than a normal gasoline or diesel tank. You can see the cutaway on the left. They're made of either steel or aluminum or carbon fiber composite materials. A gasoline tank, on the other hand, is just thin sheet metal or even plastic. You can poke a hole in it with a screwdriver. A little bit about the testing, just to get people more comfortable about this. This is a natural gas tank. It's pressure cycled to simulate the fill and empty cycles. When it does fail, because they test them to failure, it must leak, not rupture. It can't just explode. And when they test it, it's well over 10,000 pounds per square inch. Most times it's 20,000. Just as a reference, the highest we ever filled them is 3,600 pounds. So it's 3 to 5 times the normal pressure. While they do that cycling, they chill the tank to negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit and heat it to 149 degrees. They want to make sure it's not going to become brittle or weak during extreme temperature cases. They drop it, and they drop it when it's empty. If it was full, the gas itself would support the tank. So the hardest way to do it is while it's empty. And after it's dropped, sometimes it's not clear. You know, this tank has been dropped and it looks like there might be a little bit of damage. They pressure test it again, and they cycle it. So for example, this tank failed. That's the one in the picture before. But you'll notice when it does fail, it doesn't explode. There's not shrapnel everywhere. That's just carbon fiber. They burn it in the bonfire. Would you do that with a gasoline tank? And make sure it vents before it ruptures, and the gas ignites, and it just goes to atmosphere. They pressure cycle it in a road salt bath. And all the little white pads you can see are battery acid, fertilizer solution, gasoline, anything else you might encounter on the road that might be corrosive. They want to make sure none of that affects the tank's structure. They shoot it with pistols and rifles both. Pistols cannot penetrate, rifles will penetrate, but they make sure, again, it doesn't rupture, it doesn't explode, it just vents. I don't know why they didn't take it out of the car first, but... they crush it. That's a big hydraulic cylinder up top, just to make sure what happens if in a large outside force. In this case, you can see the concrete blocks. The concrete blocks failed before the tank did. And they drag it, simulating an underbody mount. When the mounting bracket fails, what happens if you just drag it down the road? Same thing. They drag it and then pressure test it again. That's all great, but what happens when it gets in a wreck? It's real world proof. Here's a Honda Civic. This has the gasoline tank in the trunk, or the CNG tank in the trunk. You'll notice it was crushed all the way up to the B-pillar. Notice there's no scorch marks. It never ignited. Fuel never even leaked in this case, and the driver walked away. Here's another one. This is a composite tank that was mounted on the roof of a bus, very similar to what school buses might be like. The bus hit a low overhang, like hitting a bridge. The entire ceiling and roof of the bus collapsed, and that took the main impact. It passed the pressure test right afterward. Here's another one. This is a bus with tanks on the roof. The tanks and the natural gas did not start this fire. An engine fire started this. The engine fire consumed the entire bus. You'll notice tanks on the ground and on the roof still intact. It just released to atmosphere like it's supposed to and didn't enter the fire. A little bit about the cost. Our current prices, Middle Tennessee Natural Gas, we have a special CNG for wholesale rate that equates to 76 cents a gallon when you compare the same amount of energy in a gallon of diesel versus the same amount of natural gas. That sounds great, but there is a catch. Natural gas buses cost more than diesel buses up front. It varies a lot depending on the particulars, but anywhere from $30,000 to $45,000 is kind of the range we're seeing increase over diesel. With no other tax credits or EPA grants or anything, it would take about 30,000 gallons of usage to pay back that initial investment. And I'm comparing it to $2 a gallon diesel. All my numbers here are rough estimates and guesses we can get in particular if you have some interest. We'll talk about this a little bit more later, but $2 a gallon for diesel is the lowest we've seen it in a long time. And I think it's fair to assume that it's not going to stay there. But all of these comparisons and prices are based on that lowest price. So it's kind of a worst case scenario. On a typical school bus, 30,000 gallons is about 150,000 miles. So it will pay back, but that's not soon. You know, that's a long payback. So I just want to be upfront about that. Worst case scenario with no grants, it will pay back, but it's not soon. But there is a $25,000 EPA grant per bus available. You can get up to 10 buses on the same grant. With that, it could break even in only 50,000 miles. Another option, because grants are a pain, this one isn't too bad, but there's hoops you have to jump through too. If you decide to sell your old diesel bus, you can do that. With the EPA grant, you have to destroy your old diesel bus. They want to get it off the road. So the only value you'll get out of it is scrap metal value, which is very low. You can sell your old bus for more than $25,000, not jump through any of the EPA hoops, and use that as a startup too to cut your costs. I want to mention this because it has been reoccurring. There is a 50-cent a gallon alternative fuel tax available federally. It gets caught every single year in the mess that is Washington. And so far, every single year, it has been approved at the last minute and applied retroactively. In 2014, it was approved in December of 2014. And then everybody got their tax credit for the whole year, but I can't promise that it's going to be approved ever. We hope it is, and it seems to be. But if that is approved, it brings the payback down to even more. If you look, remember back, it was 67 cents a gallon. You take 50 cents off that, you're buying diesel for 17 cents a gallon. And if diesel goes back up to $4 a gallon, we can break even in just 17,000 miles. So the numbers didn't look good at first, but you know, when you start looking at all the what ifs, the numbers look pretty good. And even if you can break even, you get back to all the other reasons you might want to do this, for the environment, for the country, for the customer, you know, all those things. It starts to make sense. And then what? 76 cents a gallon versus $2 a gallon. Projected lifetime savings per bus, again, these are estimates and worst case scenarios. If there's no grants and no tax credits, you save $12,500 over the life of the school bus. With the EPA grant, and assuming the tax credits don't come through, you're looking at $37,500. If you get both the tax credits and the grants, you're looking at almost $68,000. So there is a significant savings. And the question that always comes up, that's great. We have nowhere to fuel it. For a school bus, the answer is relatively easy. They have a lot of downtime. They just sit, how many hours a day? All night at least, right?
At least all night.
At least all night. So all we do is hook up a gas meter, a gas compressor, and while they're sitting idle, they fill slowly over a period of hours. It's much cheaper and easier than trying to do a fast fill station, which is technologically available and is very common. There are many around Tennessee already. With a fast fill station, you literally pull up and refuel as fast as you do gasoline. But it's more expensive and complicated to build. So because we don't have any of those here, I'm suggesting a time fill station. And again, these costs vary even more than a school bus cost. We just have to get into particulars. Just to give you some round numbers, figure $40,000 per bus needing fuel. The more buses you have, the more that number goes down. This again is the worst case. The longer we have for refueling, the cheaper it gets. If I've got 16 hours to fill up a bus, it's going to take me half the compressor power that it would to do it in 8 hours. So you can see how that can vary pretty quickly. And again, if there's interest, we can start looking at specifics and around these numbers. And the golden ticket, the pitch of the night, Middle Tennessee Natural Gas is willing to split the cost of this fueling station with the county. Because we are a municipality, we cannot legally partner with a private entity because we would be using our ratepayers' money for profit. However, we can partner with the county or the school board or however that works out. So we'd be willing to split that cost, and we can get into the details of that. We're very anxious to do. I can't promise this for every county everywhere, no matter how many buses you want to do, but as a one-time promotional initiative, we'd love to talk to you more about that. Why we're here tonight, just a little bit more about this EPA grant. It's $25,000 per bus if you replace a Class 8 bus. There are other dollar amounts for smaller buses, but from what I saw at the lot, you guys mostly use Class 8 buses. The catch is you must replace an older diesel bus. The engine has to be a 2006 year or older, and it has to currently drive at least 10,000 miles per year. So they're not going to give you a grant to replace a bus that hasn't moved in 10 years. They want to get a diesel bus off the road and put an alternative fuel bus on there. The other catch is you have to cut that bus in half at the frame and drill a hole in the engine block. You can take out the seats, you can take out anything you want, but they need pictures of that frame cut and the engine block hole. So the bus is gone, and you can get scrap value at best out of it. We talked a little bit more with Durham about who might make this grant application. It's whoever is physically on the title of that school bus. So if the county owns the bus, the county would have to apply for the grant, because you do have to include a copy of the title with the grant application. And the kicker is this application is due October 30th by 4 p.m. Eastern. So if you're at all interested, I highly suggest you apply for the grant. It's a very simple 2-page application. Just what are the buses, what are the bins, kind of things. If you end up deciding not to take the grant, it's no big deal, you're out. And it is a competitive grant. It's done in a lottery system, but if you apply, I can't guarantee you get it either. There's $7 million available this year nationally for this program. So, that being said, I'm sorry to go so fast, but I know you have other things to do.
How often would a bus, if it had this 2-tank system that we saw, how often would it, do you think it would have to be refueled? I'm thinking about that tank.
That was going to be my question.
It depends on the tank.
How many gallons is it?
Yeah, I've seen as low as 40-gallon tanks to 100-gallon tanks. So I would suggest, go ahead.
How long would it take for a 40-gallon tank to fill?
At the slowest, the smallest compressor that we have at our office for our little pickup trucks does 5 gallons an hour. So we're talking 8 hours to completely fill a 40-gallon tank. We can go up from there. You can get a compressor as big as a gallon a minute, or several gallons a minute for that matter. It just is added cost.
Okay. I guess my question is, are we talking about on the average bus, given the average drive, are we talking about refueling it once every 3 nights, or once a week, or once a night, or what kind of frequency are we talking about?
It would probably be miles is what it would have to be. It would just depend on where that was, and you would probably want these probably in town that aren't running so many miles like they are out in the county routes. Yeah. Especially since there's a lot of park outs. Okay, so all the park outs would have to come in and fuel and have to wait 8 hours, and then that kind of coincides of them parking out, not wasting fuel. So you'd probably want them in town here. And that would be okay. I mean, we could do that. What is the cost of the station, the pumping station?
Again, it varies depending on the details.
And then it only fuels 3 at a time, right?
Oh, we can build it as big as you want.
Okay. And that would be a concern because with 62 buses,
sure.
You know, I mean, you're not going to start out with that many, but if you're going to start buying them from then on, that as the years go on and you buy them, it's going to, you know.
And that it's also easy to start small and add.
Right, and if you do that, you know, in that perspective, if you do a small pump when you only have a few, and then just add from there. But it varies on pump size too, so that would have to be considered too of having to buy that too, and a place to keep it that you I guess by the state would let you do. So I'm not sure. You know, where that might be, but they probably wouldn't let you store it next to the bus garage, I would say.
Yeah, and that was the issue back when we first started talking about it. Well, I had the vision of a big bulk storage, CNG storage, at the bus shed, but what you're showing, and this is new, I didn't know about this, the time field, you can have maybe a commercial size meter.
Right.
So nothing special in the way of new pipelines, storage?
No, we could.
There's no on-site storage.
Right, at the current bus garage, and again, if that's county property, and I have to get my lawyer involved, but I think we can partner with the county to install it at the bus garage. It doesn't take much room. And where the bus is currently parked, we can just run a fill hose there. They could just plug in and let it park. So that would be fairly easily done. As we grow, we'd have to run some new pipe. You know, if you're going to fill 100 buses there.
Right. I mean, and you saw the way they were lined up. You know, and that was just part of them. You know, we got probably half that still parked out, but yeah, it would probably have to be down. You know.
Really, typically they're done wherever the bus is parked, or like the garbage trucks. That's how they run West Main from downtown in Nashville. Just wherever they normally park anyway. It's near the garage. It's convenient. We just install a fill hose right there.
Right.
I've got just one more question on. Here again, back to the safety thing. I'm assuming that you or AGI or some organization would train and certify Sherry's mechanics.
Yes.
In the safe operation of the refueling.
Yes. Absolutely.
I really wanted to get him in here so you guys could, you know, if you wanted to do the screen, at least try to get the, you know, the grant application in, you know, this week to get that done. That's why I said I need to go from what everybody's here at one time, and do that, because like you said, I can't do that for you. So I wanted him to at least get that in here and give you guys that option to be able to get one of these buses and maybe even try it out. So.
What kind of interest have other districts shown to your presentation?
It varies a lot. Honestly, yours is the first since the grant came out, and it's all over the board. There is, Morgan County already has a CNG bus. Actually, theirs is the one on the front cover. So far, they're the first in the state. California, of course, is very big in this. Utah.
Where did they put their fueling station?
They had a public station already in Morgan County. So they
didn't have to invest in building one.
Correct.
They the first in the state, but how long have they been doing it? How long?
3 years, I believe. They did it on their own. They bought one CNG bus and 3 propane buses to evaluate different options.
And I will tell you, other counties don't. I mean, I can't say that. I can't say that sounds bad, but they're not as concerned about, I guess, about this. You know, about newer buses. About, you know, I know where we are, and I know where we are with safety, where we don't cut safety at all. You know, period. And this is another thing too. You know, we fuel. You know, miles, things like that on a bus. Everything comes together, and I know a lot of counties aren't that way. You know, they just, oh, well, this is what we are. We're transportation, and, you know, we put the buses out there, and I'm not sure lights are working, and I'm not sure, you know, our state trooper who does our inspections loves to come here in the 30 days he's here to inspect our buses, because he said they're always in, you know, such great shape that he doesn't have problems, and he doesn't, you know, he doesn't have to put anything out of service, and he doesn't have to, you know, because everything's in good shape. So, you know, maybe the interest that he's not had is not somebody like you know, having that we need to save money part and environment part. You know, they just are kind of out there and want to get the buses out there. We're a little bit more concerned about things like this.
Yeah, saying it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. I know. And I want to talk to him more about it for us company wide, you know, especially California, because, you know, they've got all the EPA things there too. But that's why we started. But I wanted to get him in here just so that you guys could, you know, see what he's doing, because a lot of this will apply to you this way, you know, as far as grants. We won't be able to do all that, you know, but that doesn't mean we can't buy buses that way, you know. But if you're thinking about buying buses, you need to talk to him. And I can help you out as far as any kind of miles or anything. You know, any questions that you might have as far as bus-wise, how this could help, you know, and where it might help and what we might need to do, and help you out.
Just, you know, the concerns I have, just from the questions that have been asked, one, how much is it going to cost if we did that? What's, you know, you said the payoff could be 50,000 miles if we get, you know, funding, things of that type. So, you know, I know with the tight time frame, I know I'd just be a little apprehensive. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done.
But if they get the application in, that doesn't mean that they have to do this program. Or at least if they have the application in,
yes,
it's still a lottery. So even if you get it in, I guess you can decide if this is what you want to do or not. You know, it doesn't say that you have to, am I right?
Sure.
But at least you have that option in the next little bit.
Should no matching funds?
Just the $25,000, and that may pay for the entire, not the entire bus, but the entire extra cost from getting CNG.
Okay, so
just depends on the
details. 25,000 would be for what?
They basically pay you $25,000 for getting a diesel bus off the road.
Okay.
What you do with it is up to you.
But as far as matching funds for the grant, we wouldn't.
No, it's just that they're going to give us $25,000.
Right.
We pay the difference in the cost of the bus.
You pay for whatever the school bus costs.
Yeah, which is, we would have to buy the bus.
Right.
Which the bus is.
What's the bus cost?
How much does the bus cost?
What's a diesel bus typically cost? $100,000?
Yeah, about 85.
85.
Depending.
So yeah, pretty close to 100 overall. If you were going to buy new buses anyway, it makes sense.
And that's why I wanted him here, because if you're going to buy a new bus, you know.
Well, I got the $25,000 from
Exactly.
the feds.
Right.
Exactly.
What's the one-to-two price for CNG?
Much less than diesel and gasoline. And I didn't bring charts, but I can get those for you.
My thing with the miles is I can kind of break
It's
it
been
down
hugely
and
flat in the last several
mileage-wise,
years,
that
and
way
it's
you know
projected to
exactly
do
how
that
much
for
you're
a
gonna be
long time.
saving, because like he said, that was a rough estimate if he doesn't know how many miles we're running and all that, you know.
It's a
So,
portion of electricity,
I can
right?
break that down
Mhm.
to help you out as far as, you know, all that, so.
And because we we phase in our bus purchases, we can predict
Right,
in a certain year how many buses we're buying.
right.
That would be another thing too. With our contract, we have a lot of new buses
Right.
in 4
We have
years.
15, yeah.
So we might have to discuss that too, I mean, because that's a contract
Mhm.
negotiation
Mhm.
type thing. So,
I mean, that, yeah, something too.
I guess my concern is that October 30th date, and we understand that even if we did apply, that we can back out if we want to.
Absolutely.
So what you're suggesting, we go ahead and float the application. You said it's a two-page
It's
application.
a two-page application. You just need the title of the bus, the VIN of the bus, and a little bit of information on how much it drives now.
And each district can get up to 10.
Right.
Okay. Now, over a period of time, I'm assuming you don't have to go out and buy all these immediately.
And it is very quick. They want to get buses off the road now. So if you, well, that's the other thing. If you apply for 10 and you decide I want to replace 1 or 2, you can do that. You don't have to replace all 10. But you lose the rest of that money. Someone else will get it then.
Well, there are a lot of issues to be thought about, but I guess Mr. Chairman, my suggestion would be that we consider a motion to authorize Mr. Cox, working with our staff attorney and Sherry, to make a determination on whether to send in the application. It would just be authorizing them, because there's still a lot of questions we don't have time to deal with all of them tonight. Well, that would be my suggestion, so what do you think, Bobby?
I mean, I don't mind looking into it. I mean, I think the cost factors there's a lot of unanswered questions that I would need answers for before I wanted to go that route.
And we obviously can't answer those
Right.
tonight.
I don't mind looking into it, but we can do that next week.
Well, if you bought 10 buses, we'd be looking at out of pocket $750,000.
Yeah, if you bought all 10, but we don't need to buy all 10. I mean, that's up to 10.
Plus the fuel station.
Which they were gonna, you know, help with that too, but that, like I said, I can go over numbers with you as far as miles and things like that, and we can do all that, but the deadline, you know.
Okay, that's the deadline for the application
Just the
to be
application.
in. Okay, say we get it, what deadline would we have to say yes or
That's the
no?
question for him.
How long of a period of time, if we got chosen, if we have to decide yes or no?
I have the full thing right here. It's fairly quick. It's you must issue a purchase order for the new school bus within 90 days of the date of the selection letter, and so on and so forth.
To get it out.
Yeah.
I would.
So do they offer this every year?
They have offered it for the past 3 years. This is the most they've ever funded it. In the past, it was they had $2 million in 2014. And just to give you an idea, they got 530 applications and made 76 awards last year. So may or may not even get it if you apply, but they are spreading it around. They'll choose one application from each part of the country to make sure at least somebody from every part of the country gets it.
If we got approved for up to 10, we decide to buy 1, you got to issue the purchase order within 90 days.
Within 90 days.
What do you think, Bob?
We got 3 building projects going
Yeah,
right now, plus, I'll be honest, I wouldn't feel real comfortable
and
with it.
even if we were to decide to do it and get the purchase order issued, where we're gonna get the extra money?
Right.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that, the 90 days with that purchase order.
Yeah,
I mean, if it was something that we could extend out and possibly put into next year's budget.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask you. Is this grant is offered every year?
It has been so far. I don't know what'll happen next year.
I mean, it's such a, to me, it's such a short time frame.
Right.
They're coming in here, I mean, I don't mean this derogatory, but
No,
it's
no.
coming here, it's a short time frame. That, you know, if we were looking at a longer time frame range where we knew how much money we may have, it might be a different story.
But honestly, I mean, if you just look at the dollars involved, it makes more sense in the long run to ignore the grant and just sell an old bus. You can get more than $25,000 out of an old diesel school bus and not have the strings attached to the grant.
But you're having to cut the frame in half, and you're having to.
Not if you don't do the grant.
Right, okay.
If you
I was
skip
gonna
the
say,
grant and just sell the bus.
We
you're
could
not gonna
sell, we
get
could sell the
$25,000
bus, you know, we could sell the bus and look at retrofitting another bus or buying another bus, you know, down the road, if, you know, and there again, I would feel much more comfortable in looking longer term than doing it right now.
Well, I'll say, Mr. Chairman, I think we've had a great discussion. Thank you, Mr. Stennett. You did a fantastic job of presenting the facts, and Sherry, thank you. But, you know, this discussion leads me to believe we don't have enough time to react, and if we did do it, we don't have the money to issue a purchase order for one right now. So I'm going to suggest that we just defer further consideration and maybe go with this idea of selling old diesel buses as we replace them and applying the sales price to the CNG buses. I do personally want to keep this idea alive. I think it's got everything to recommend it. And I didn't see any downside to this at all. Environmental, economic, safety standpoint, I don't see any downside. But I appreciate Mr. Stennett coming from Middle Tennessee Natural Gas and Mike Corley, and it was really probably my fault more than anything that you got this late, because we started this discussion about the grant maybe 2 months ago. So, but anyway, and I agree. There's just, we're not going to have time to react as far as the EPA grant. But the concept, I think, is very much worth following.
So where did you say there was one?
Morgan County.
Actually, take a look at it.
And of course, all over the country, just in the state of Tennessee, Morgan County is
Right.
right now.
I have one last question.
Sure.
Should we not apply for the grant and we sell a bus, how would Middle Tennessee Natural Gas help us with putting the filling station? And would you still?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That offer is independent of the
Okay.
grant. That is just a local municipality offer.
Good question.
And you can keep that cost lower because it's only one bus right now, so you're not needing the multiple,
Right.
fuel stations.
See, I have another thing. With y'all helping with this filling station, do you have the cost of what our actual initial investment would be?
Not without getting into the details.
Okay.
I have I guess it would start in the $20,000 range for either part. But that could vary up and down quite a bit depending on what exactly we decide.
Okay, and with propane and natural gas, is that a locked-in rate? Do you do a locked-in rate per year for the school system?
It is a locked-in base rate. It has what we call a purchase gas adjustment every month, just like everybody's gas bill. That varies a little bit month to month based on the actual cost of natural gas to us. It is, I can get you data on what that has been
So
historically.
it's still going to fluctuate?
It is, but not nearly as much as propane,
Right,
diesel,
right.
anything like that. It's a penny,
Right.
here and
I
there.
would just, help those with numbers per year,
Sure.
per gallon, so. But if it's still going to fluctuate, that'll be a little bit different, but just go high really, so.
So it sounds like to me we need to have some kind of committee joining all these parties together and going through this process so we can plan this thing out.
Right.
Put it into our strategic plan and our budget and then make it happen.
I think that's
If we can include everybody in some type of committee, we can nail this thing down and start taking measures to do that. I think it's got a lot of validity to it. It's just
What number
putting the plan
crunching needs to be
together.
done, so we can come down to as close to a dollar amount as we can.
As an hour retreat, get some members together and discussing that in December.
I think it needs to be, I think it needs to be placed in our strategic plan, and there needs to be some numbers involved with it.
Even if it's one bus, to start out.
That's right. Yeah, I'm very comfortable with that approach, Mr. Chairman. And maybe if you could appoint a committee to work with Durham and with Middle Tennessee Natural Gas and maybe some manufacturer's representative. I would ask Mr. Stanley if you would upload your slideshow to Mr. Cox or
Sure.
Ms. Houston, if you could do that.
Sure. Just put it on the desktop.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Why don't we let Mr. Cox put that together? And we can both agree together.
Anything you need from me, about the mileage, anything like that you might need for bus, where that might be. I want to read more. Like I said, we just started this last week too, so
Yeah.
I met with him as far as for a Durham company wide, you know, but I wanted you guys to go ahead and get it kicked off here. So, yeah. Both, and I still need to meet with him too, as far as for me wise, you know, to try to get this started too, with some buses.
We'll try to do that and shoot for December and get some numbers yet. To bring to the board, bring to the retreat, December.
And if you don't, that's okay. I mean, again, let's get this thing in the strategic plan. Let's get it in the budget. So we've got 6 months to 7 months.
In the one in March.
Okay, much time.
We consider like all the buses, you know, I gave you that bus list too, what we had, so you know that you might be able to.
Lay that out.
Yep.
Okay.
And considering the offer that they're making, I think probably look at maybe 4 or 5 rather than looking at more. If they're going to help with the station, then let's put the station that's going to service more, and then we can determine that by how many buses. It's too many buses.
Now, if you choose 20 or 30, I might have to look at the offer.
What is the maintenance part of it? I mean, what kind of difference is there to this diesel?
It is very similar. The engines themselves are almost identical. Depending on how in-depth you want to get with the maintenance, there are different levels of certification for those techs. Working on a high-pressure fuel system is different.
I'm talking about part-wise, you know, as far as maintenance.
Anecdotally, it's much lower than diesel because it's a cleaner burning fuel. You change the oil and it looks brand new, is what we see over and over again.
Well, that's, I think if you look at the literature, that's one of the great advantages among several others. It's cleaner burning. Mr. Stennett showed how the exhaust particulate is drastically cut. So you don't have all these little particles kind of knocking around inside the cylinders and going through the valves. So we might be able to extend the life of a bus with lower maintenance. And if things go the way we kind of hope that we'll be able to keep our buses a little longer, and as long as they meet the inspection criteria, and keeping those engines running is a good idea.
Sure.
Didn't you mention that they could convert the current buses to
They
this?
can, but it's not usually cost effective. If you're going to spend that much on an old bus that's half worn out already, you're better off just buying a new bus.
And that's probably something that I'm going to go over with him too, so that I can, tell you just, for Durham as a company, I have a million questions for him. Now that I look more and more, and that is, what the cost is to change the buses now, because now lifespan on buses are 18 years. They used to be 14 and 15, and now they've upped it to 18 as long as they're inspected, an extra time throughout the year. So that's the difference. If we can convert that bus over, I don't. Still, it's still natural gas, but I think that avenue is worth looking at too. And like I said, I have a lot of questions. I want to know, Megan, where you get parts and where, I'm in that part. I have to get parts.
Understood. I'll be happy to talk more with anybody.
Okay. So I think that's all we have. So.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I think our next item is the compliance report. I think the cover sheet of the compliance report in your packet. Joy's taking care of that. I think we are in compliance with everything that we need to be in compliance with. We just need the board's approval for that report so we can send that to the state.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the 2015 LEA compliance report.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
I second.
Have a second. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Thank you very much. Moving on, just an update on our benefits package. Last month, the board gave us the go-ahead to start working with Mr. Hale and his company to start develop voluntary benefits. We've done that. We are getting ready to roll out our first dental option, which would be an open enrollment period in November. Notified the staff of that today, and he will be visiting each school tomorrow. And then as we kind of continue on through the year, he's negotiating contracts with companies for vision, flight, etc. It's all voluntary benefit. But just to give you a little update, we compared the plan that he's developed to the state plan, and family cost for his plan would be $68.61 a month for family, and the state's cost is $79.62 a month for family. There's no waiting period. The state has a 6-month and 12-month waiting period. No waiting period to get on this voluntary benefit plan. And then these are 3-year locked-in rates, so there'll be no change for 3 years. So that's just one example as far as that goes. Our gap insurance, we've had so far 30 individuals who are willing to move off the partnership or standard plan into the limited or the new HSA plan, take advantage of the gap, which is going to reduce our cost. So we still have another week. October 30th is open enrollment period, so I'll be able to give you some more numbers there. So hopefully in November we can get the contracts in place for the gap insurance plan, and we can move forward with that plan. It should reduce our costs, should be a benefit to the employees. So everything seems to be moving forward with that. Goal would be coverage would start, new website, and everything would be January 1. So everything seems to be moving forward. Benefits package. So anybody got any questions about that?
Generally, feedback has been very, very good.
Yeah, it's been very positive. Scott and I did presentations over 4 days for anybody that wanted to come. One of the good things about his company is he's handling, the employee questions and especially with the gap insurance and the voluntary benefits plans. If there's any questions or problems, his company's handling that. So it takes that off of us, which is good. We've sent out this week our letters to our current voluntary vendors that dated back to when I was in high school, and notified them that as of January 1, that we would not be a payroll deduction slot, so we'll reduce that down to 1. Individuals wanted to stay with that, and they'll have to contract with the company themselves to do that. So not gotten any feedback from that other than positive from our employees. So far so good on that.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say that I appreciate Mr. Cox, and I know Robin helped, and I'm sure Joy and his staff for taking the initiative to explore these different options. This thing we've talked about, just letting nature take its course, and it is what it is. That's not a model for success. So I appreciate Mr. Cox taking this action to come up with a plan that benefits our employees and is a benefit to the system at the same time. So
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hope it works out well. It seems to be going good right now. Just a couple of other updates. Autumn is not here tonight, so I'm not going to forget her this time, but she's over at Hickory Creek working on the Ready for Kindergarten program. I think we have, in our leadership meeting today, she reported out, I think we've got about 90 parents that are taking part in that this year, so that's well above where we were last year. I think we're going to have the opportunity over the year to affect about 300 parents with 300 kits ready for kindergarten kits that are going to go home with them. So that's a good work, and she's doing a good job there. Our reading goal, I'll let you give you just a little bit of data on that. We improved our standing in the Upper Cumberland area this year from 9th in the Upper Cumberland to 6th in the Upper Cumberland in 3rd grade reading. We have a few schools that are in the top 5 or 10 in the Upper Cumberland area in 3rd grade reading. So I'll let her report on that next month, but kind of pleased with where we're at right now with that. Our Chromebooks, tonight at the middle school, we are giving out the last of the Chromebooks. So now every student, every 8th grade student in our system has a Chromebook, or hopefully by now has a Chromebook. Everything seems to be going well there. Haven't had really any problems with that so far. Seems to be all positive. The Go Guardian system that we have installed on there seems to be working well. So, you know, if there's things that shouldn't be accessed, it's able to block that. We're able to track it, and so that's a good thing. So everything seems to be going well there. Over fall break last week, we took all the Chromebooks back up in case we needed to service them. That worked out well. They're back out now in students' hands. So that program seems to be going well. Katrina has in her
elections, and we see how it has had an effect right here in Tennessee. They spent a total of almost $469,000 in money. And in the 43rd State House District, we see 2 players. They supported this gentleman right here, who was his party's nominee, and they also spent money to oppose this nominee, Kevin Dunlap, who ultimately went on to eke out a very, very narrow win. The other thing these organizations are doing is not contributing directly to campaigns, but doing what's called independent expenditures. Now, under the law, they cannot coordinate with or even consult with the candidates or the candidate's campaign, but they can send out flyers, they can put out leaflets, they can do television and radio advertising that has the effect of supporting a candidate, but most often opposing a candidate. So that's what they're doing. Okay, of the $469,000 in 2014 from the American Federation for Children, only $44,000 went into direct campaign contributions. It's much easier to trace these when they go into a campaign because of the current state campaign campaign finance reporting requirements. So less than 10% of their total money went directly into campaigns. Okay, House District 13, 35. Okay, here's 43rd. You can see that the American Federation for Children contributed directly to Mr. Dunham's campaign $1,500. Okay, in independent expenditures, which are much more difficult to trace, they put in almost $38,000 in his campaign. Here again, ostensibly not coordinating, not consulting with the candidate. They spent $11,000 to oppose Mr. Dunlap. Now, perhaps you saw some of the flyers in opposition to him. The result was, in spite of this tidal wave of money coming into the 43rd District from outside, not just the district, but outside Tennessee, Mr. Dunlap edged his rival by about 54 votes. You talk about a nail-biter election. Some other districts. One of the other organizations, one of these 5OC34s, is Students First. Here again, now that's a very benign sounding title, but let's see what they're actually doing. Students First is based in Sacramento, and it was organized and is still led by Michelle Reed, who was superintendent of schools in the Washington, D.C. district. By the way, a former wife of former Tennessee Commissioner of Education, Mr. Huffman. Okay, all right, they spent more going directly into campaigns, but still less than half of the total of about $480,000 they raised. They even got involved in local school board races. So what has happened in other counties in Tennessee may be coming to Warren County. Okay, what Students First did, they supported certain candidates and opposed other candidates. Well, guess who got opposed again? Mr. Dunlap. He was apparently on the enemies list for Students First. Okay, they spent almost $24,000 to oppose Mr. Dunlap. When you combine that with the American Federation for Children, that first group we talked about, these outside groups spent $74,000 opposing a House legislative candidate here in the little 43rd district. These are some other organizations that are involved. I'm going to try to get to, of course, Americans for Prosperity, very well known, sort of a front organization for David and Charles Koch. And they put out ads like this opposing candidates that they see as being unfriendly toward their crusade to expand vouchers and to put public money into private charter schools. Okay, that's the American Legislative Exchange. I wanted, and the slide is not in there, I thought it was, but for organizations like Students First, we've seen contributions coming in on the order of $100,000 each. You remember seeing those, Helen? And it seems like a couple of those $100,000 big hitters were investment bankers in Chicago. So you wonder, you know, why do these investment bankers in Chicago have so much interest in Tennessee school children? I'm not going to impugn their motives or question their motives, but I think that's a question that's been unanswered. So I just wanted to put this up to kind of let you know what to expect when the General Assembly reconvenes in January. What started out as a little trickle of money, got to be a little stream, got to be a small river. It's going to be a tidal wave of outside money coming in next year. Now, we don't have suitcases of cash to carry around to influence electoral politics, but we do have, I think, the backing of our community, of our constituents, because we do represent the students in our school system. And that's why I think every member of the school board needs to be active and be very energetic about representing their views to our elected officials and holding our elected officials accountable. The other thing, and then that's all I have to say on the subject, one of the things that was pointed out at the TSBA seminar last Friday was we have probably the largest professional organization that could be mobilized to keep public schools public, but it's not absent. That's our teachers. Probably the largest single professional sector in all of Tennessee, and as one of the speakers said, quoting another veteran politician in Tennessee who's observed elections over many years, said he was somewhat amazed that after decades, the teachers of Tennessee have had no detectable effect on elections. No detectable effect. So, you know, it's teachers' jobs, you know, and more importantly, it's the welfare of the children that we're talking about. So I think maybe we would all agree it's time we share this information with the public. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did I do it in 10 minutes? Pretty close? Okay, thank you.
I think one of the items that we tried to do last year that we were unable to get accomplished was maybe having a meeting with our legislators and inviting all the legislators together. And we'd like to try to do that again this year. We'll try to pull that together. You want me to try to get a date and a time, and we could host a, you know, maybe a high school and kind of have a forum. That's okay with the board.
That's a lot of what they said, you know, to have that relationship.
Okay. Okay. If everybody's in agreement, I'll go ahead and we'll get notify our legislators and ask them and try to get a date maybe in November, possibly, and see if we can full form again.
I certainly strongly recommend doing that, but I think we need all of our stakeholders involved in that meeting. So I would suggest that we invite WCEA representative to be there.
All right, we can do
Or
that.
more than one representative.
All right, we'll do that. That's
Okay.
the end of operations, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. Facilities and resources.
I want to thank Mr. Clemo for coming. See how many left?
He's already got it
Okay.
all.
Well, I thank him
He's all
anyway for
out.
coming to always do his report on the 3 projects that are under construction. Bobby Ray Gymnasium additions and renovation, topsoil replacement has begun. Mechanical equipment is set on the roof. Ducting in the gymnasium is underway. The brick is on the addition. He brought the color boards with him that they had picked out, and the principals are real good to help him to pick out the colors. The old locker rooms have the ceilings in place and are to be turned over for the school use. The building is under roof and tied in. The walks and the ramps are poured. The old pipes have been a problem, but they're working on that. The Warren County High School athletic building and addition, the masonry is complete. The addition is under roof and tied into the existing roof. The interior of the addition has completed walls and final plumbing is underway. They're working on the lighting with Mrs. Wilmore to talk about having various sports in the building. The colors have been chosen. Major utility is in place. The brick, color of the brick is off a little, not exactly matched, but it is close enough that it will tie in. The interior colors are matched, the base, the tile, and so forth, fairly well. Irving College School addition renovation, 40% of the block has been laid. The material and color selections have been made, which he showed us the board tonight. 95% of the floor slabs have been poured. A lot of masonry work is being done. Said it's been a lot of effort bringing together the gym, but the gym walls are up, and they started at the east side and working toward the west. The brick and the trim will match on this. Said that the weather has been favorable for the contractors to have gotten a lot done, and they're generally on track, and no charge orders have been necessary today. And that's all.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Does anybody have any other further business to bring before the board?
Motion to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Very good.
Well, I wonder-